am with the Greater Good Science Center. And I'm just curious, how many of you have heard of the Greater Good Science Center? You can put it in the chat or whatever you'd like. But Greater Good Science Center has been around for about 20 years. And over 1 million people per month come to the Greater Good Science Center for workshops, for consulting, for articles, podcasts. So we focus on the science of well-being, the science of a meaningful life. We teach skills that foster a thriving, resilient, and compassionate society. You may have seen our Greater Good magazine. Our Science of Happiness podcast is really fun. Some of the podcasts are just 8 minutes long or 12 minutes long, but it's an award-winning podcast that's really, I listen to it myself, so I'm a fan. And just a little bit about me. I'm a dad or a baba to 3 kids, originally from Iran, but I've lived all over the world. Um, there's my family there, my 3 kids and my wife. We live here in Berkeley, California. And I like to call myself an amateur chef. This is a citrus pistachio salad that I like to make. I like to play soccer, surf, and throw on the pottery wheel. And I've been lucky to have consulted with all kinds of universities, tech companies, UN agencies, and my mission is really to foster joyful and successful workplaces all over the world. And so at the Greater Good, that's what I focus on, is to bring the science of a meaningful life to workplaces. And it's sort of kind of a dream job of mine. So I'm really happy to be here with you all. I will say that I'm not a scientist, although I geek out and hang out with scientists all the time. My boss is a neuroscientist, and her name is Emiliana Simon Thomas, and she's led the world's largest course on happiness, which over 1 million people signed up for from around the world. So I just like to hang out with her and learn from her as a neuroscientist, and my role really here is to sort of help translate the science. So let's delve into some science, because this workshop is really about moving from incivility to kindness with the idea of being an upstander. And it'd be interesting to look at, first and foremost, what it is about the human brain and us as humans that make us really prone to kindness. And it turns out, in this study by Waldinger, that um, that people are really focused on strong relationships, and those that have stronger relationships were protected from chronic disease, mental illness, memory decline. And this was a study done over 80 years of a person's lifestyle. And so the idea here really is that when you tend to your relationships, it's a form of self-care and actually literally good for your health. So kindness is just not a nice thing to have. It's a form of self-care that is really built into our biology and helps us with our biology. And so I think Ruth Feldman's study here is really interesting. She has really looked at how kindness is really wired into our brains and into our biology. She talks about this idea of unbidden empathy, which is really reflecting the automatic or emotional side of prosociality, that we actually are wired to connect with emotions, other people's emotions, and that it's almost an automatic response, that you don't have to consciously choose kindness, that it is actually built into our wiring. And being able to spark that kindness is really important. And so pro-social contagion, this idea of upward spirals, that when you are kind to others and that builds this upward spiral of positivity, is really built into to the to the makeup of our brains and how we work. And so just a little bit of science to get us into it. And then I think what's really, scientists are learning more and more is that we are built to survive through kindness because we are the most social beings. And so, in Noah Snyder's work here, he talks about how low social integration predicts a 50% increase in all-cause mortality. So if you're not connected, and kindness as a glue for connection, can really, really affect how your health and your mortality. And as you know, we are social beings that survive in groups. Um, Humans alone are not very good at surviving, and much better at surviving in groups. So this idea of kindness and pro-sociality is crucial to our survival, and really wired into our brains. So let's jump in. How do we actually move from incivility to kindness? And for me, one of the things that I've noticed is that it's actually very difficult in a particular situation when you see incivility to actually act with kindness, to act positively towards kindness. And so what we often see around incivility is bystanders. We see folks that notice something and are just frozen. How many of you have seen something go down, whether it's just rudeness in a meeting or some conflict happening on the street, and you're just like, whoa, I don't know what to do. Has anybody experienced that? Yeah. So, how do we move from incivility to kindness? And it turns out that it's actually really difficult to do. Um, and there's quite a bit of research that points to this idea of being an upstander. Um, and I actually, I had this crazy job where I was trying to shift the culture of an entire university, and it's 10,000 staff. And one of the things we wanted to see was more kindness, people just being nice to each other, being good to each other. And I met with our council of deans. So here's all these like, you know, what we call them, these like 500-pound gorilla deans who were in the room, and they said, you know what, I've got Nobel Prize winning scientists, Nobel Prize winning faculty here who are treating our staff like shit. Like, what do we what do we do? And we brought up this idea of bystanders and upstanders. And the research, one of the pieces of research around this is around this Kiva anti-bullying program that was done in schools. And they found if they could train the bystanders in how to just stand up and say something when people are being mean, that really was the most effective work around anti-bullying. Instead of dealing with the perpetrator of incivility or bullying, they work with the bystanders. And that seemed to have a big effect in this random control study. 117 intervention schools and 117 no intervention schools. And they saw a huge effect. So that's what we're going to practice today. We're actually going to practice being an upstander in situations like this. Before we go, any questions before we go forward? Any questions or thoughts? Okay, let's keep it moving. So I was lucky enough to be trained by this guy, Augusto Boal, um, who is an amazing, amazing human being. He's originally from Brazil. Um, and Augusto Boal was a contemporary of Paulo Freire, who wrote the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And he was a theater guy. So he was training people in theater techniques. And he would go out into the villages of Brazil and he would do a play in the villages of Brazil around the people taking up their land and getting back their land from the government. And everybody gets super riled up and they're like, yes, let's do it. And they went and got their machetes and they said, yes, let's take back our land. And Boal was like, hold up, hold up. This is just a play. This is just a skit. We're not actually going to do that. But so he started to think like, I can't go into these villages and just do a play based on what we think people should do. let's do a play based on what they want to do. And so he went into this village next time and he said, hey, we've got a group of actors here, actors and actresses, and we want to do a play about something that's on your mind. What's on your mind? And we're going to make a play about it. And so he goes forward, and one woman like stands up in the middle of this and says, listen, I've got something you could do a play about. My husband is cheating on me. Why don't you do a play about that? And so before you know it, his actors get up there and they start acting out this play. And this woman just keeps jumping in and saying, hey, that's not how it would go. That's not what I would say. You guys are getting it totally wrong. This is off. And so finally, the actors said, lady, why don't you come up here and you play yourself in this skit? And then we'll do it that way. And so his idea of forum theater was born, where he would go across Brazil and ultimately all over the world, having people act out the issues, the challenges in their lives. And by acting it out, they could do it in real life. And so we're going to actually practice that today. We're going to do it in a virtual format. I don't know if this has ever been done before, so let's see how it works out. But the idea here is that we're going to test these things out and try it with each other. Try the practice of standing up towards in the face of incivility and working towards acting with kindness. So, um, why don't we go to our first piece? And the idea here is that Boal talks about, everybody can act. And if you can act in a little skit, then you can act in real life. But in order to get ready to act, you have to use the tools of an actor. And those are your face, your body, your facial expressions, the tone of your voice, your body language. These are the tools that actors and actresses use. And so we're going to go into breakout rooms in just a moment. And we are going to actually do a little bit of mirroring with each other. So this will require the cameras on if you're able to do that, so that we can actually mirror each other and and practice getting into this. And so it's pretty simple. We're going to be in pairs. You're going to spend 3 minutes mirroring each other. And you may be asking who's going to lead and who's going to follow. We want you to let that be fluid. So sometimes you will lead, sometimes your partner will lead. And your job is to mirror everything you see. Facial expressions, voice, body language. And that's the task. Any questions? What questions do you have before I put you into breakout rooms? No questions? Okay, great. So why don't I'm going to create a few here and we'll go into these breakout rooms. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Okay, so I'll let you know when it's time to come back.
Well, I made the mistake right now. I just realized I'm confused. So I have RSSP and I have facilities that I can call. Right? Sometimes I call RSSP. So this one I have to go to the first shoot first. So I did RSSP for carpenter. Let's see what I get. So here I got to look up.
Okay, here we are. Great to see you. And Curtis, what a fantastic workshop you just did. I got to catch most of it, so it was awesome. I learned a lot about the difference between kindness and niceness.
Oh, thank you, Kia.
Love it.
Loved it too.
Okay, great. Yeah, and maybe we could bring some of that into this session. So, okay, I hope you got a chance to do a little bit of mirroring. It's really interesting when it's done in person. There's another form of this where you communicate a conflict with somebody, but you do that starting with just your eyes. So you communicate your conflict to someone with your eyes. They reflect back, or they respond with their eyes. Then you add your facial expressions. Then they add theirs, and then your body language, your voice, etc., which can be a very deep experience. But the idea here is to get yourself into the mode of acting and to be ready to practice. This is one of the things I heard at a conference recently, is that work is one of the only places where we don't actually practice, right? For a team, you practice things, but at work, it was just like we just run in and just do it with no practice. So this is a chance to actually practice some difficult situations. So now that you've been given a chance to just get into your body a little bit and learn, use some of the tools of an actor, we'd like to set up a little skit. And so here's the skit situation. We're going to do it together. And there's going to be three characters in this situation. One is the uncivil boss. You probably have all had an uncivil boss or seen them out in the wild. You might conjure who that person is and how they act. Think about the way they talk and move their bodies and how they speak. So that's one character. The second character is the target of this incivility. So we probably have all seen somebody who has been the target of this kind of behavior. So think about who that person might be. And then the last character, number three, is our protagonist. And this is who we are hoping will be the upstander in this situation, not a bystander, but an upstander, to actually help this situation go well. And we're actually all going to have a chance to sort of serve in that role, because the way that this works, well, let me just tell you the situation and I'll tell you how it works. So the situation is something we've probably all been a part of, a team meeting. The boss is berating number two, the target of incivility, the employee in front of their colleagues. And the target tries a bit to defend themselves, but is frozen, right? They're not exactly sure what to say. They're not necessarily really standing up for themselves, but kind of trying to explain themselves. And our protagonist job is to be an upstander, to try to help this uncivil boss move towards kindness. And, this, I think, Curtis, since you're in the room, if you don't mind, if you could tell us, what you talked a little bit about what you talked in terms of the difference between kindness and niceness, because what we don't want in this situation is niceness. We want kindness in this situation. So since you're here, Curtis, I'd love to put you on the spot.
Great, thanks, Kia. So kind is a virtue, nice is a defense mechanism to avoid conflict. Whereas kind is the way to transform conflict into connection. It's the way to be able to see people in the light that you have value and I can learn from you, I can grow from you, I can appreciate your perspective and feedback.
Awesome. Thank you, Curtis. I love that, this idea of moving, conflict into transforming conflict into connection. So that's the job of the protagonist. And unfortunately, this uncivil boss, it's not going to be that easy, right? They're not going to, whoever's going to play that role, I don't want you to make it easy for the person, because what we want to do is for people to try multiple different ways of moving that uncivil boss towards kindness. So the way that this is going to work in form theater is that we're going to let the skit escalate. First, we're going to choose who's going to play what role. Then we're going to let the skit escalate for about 3 minutes. And I want you to imagine that in this skit, it's like two trains coming at each other. It's just getting more and more and more tense. Like it starts kind of mellow and then it builds and it builds and it builds until like these two trains are about to collide. So that's how the skit's going to escalate. And then the boss, as I mentioned, you're gonna keep it real. You're not gonna make it easy for our protagonist to like come in and solve the situation. You're gonna make it them work for it and just try to keep it real, right? Because people don't like quickly turn around and change their behavior, right? So try to keep it as real as you can. Make it a little bit challenging. And then the way this works is the rest of us are not just going to watch. Anyone can yell freeze and play the role of a protagonist. So it looks like, we've got three roles and one person that's watching. That one person can jump in at any point and try to play the role of the protagonist. And actually, no, we have a few more people. So let's try it that way. At least a couple of people will have a chance to help this situation go well, help the uncivil boss move towards kindness. So you can yell freeze at any point, and then you'll take that role, and then we'll go through a few protagonists until someone genuinely brings this conflict to a better resolution. Okay, so what questions do you have? Any questions about how this whole thing works?
Do we know why the boss is upset or just anything?
Um, you're gonna take whoever takes that role, you are going to make that up in your mind. You're gonna choose something that feels very real to you, um, and and run with it. Great question. Other questions? Okay, is everyone clear how this whole thing's gonna work? Let's try it. I don't know if this has ever been tried virtually, but we're gonna do it and see what happens. Okay, so who would like to play the uncivil boss? All right, MJ.
MJ.
There we go. I love it. Okay, MJ will play the uncivil boss. Who would like to play the target of this incivility? Curtis, thank you. And
Curtis,
who
you're
would
the
like to
best
play our
one to move us to kindness.
That's why I'm not going to do it. Give people practice.
And who would like to play the role of the protagonist, our first protagonist?
While people get decided, am I as big and bold and mean as I can possibly be? Or
Yes.
am I,
You
yes?
know, I mean, you want to play it real,
Okay.
MJ.
Yeah, okay.
Like, but yeah, you're not going to make it easy for the person.
Okay.
We don't want
Okay.
it to just be a caricature. We want it to feel as real as possible. But
Okay.
that's a great question.
Okay.
So, Amy, Dana, Adam, who'd like to play? Amy, would you like to do
I'll go first, but Dana, you better jump in and save me like really quickly.
I
it?
will. This the whole concept of this scares me, so that's good, right?
Terrifying.
I think that's
This
why
is
there's not a
great.
lot of
Yeah,
people here.
you know what I love about what you said, Dana, is it is scary in real life, right? In real life, when you see this going down, when you see someone like just being really mean to someone in a meeting or something, we freeze up. And so this is a safe place. We're gonna test it out, and I'm sure we'll get.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of bystander training we had for like, with all the attacks on the Asian American community and what are different things you can do. But these are people that you know and you work with, so it's a little different situation.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And that's why we had Jill in the morning, the bravery
That's right.
part.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's right. Bravery. Okay, great. So MJ, I want you actually all the actors, just close your eyes for just a minute. And I want you to get into the role of who you are. And so one of the things that Boal taught us when we were getting into the role is he said that desire is the battery of the human ego. So think about what your character desires. So MJ, as the uncivil boss, what does your character want in this scene? Think about what your character wants. Try to put yourself in that person's shoes and act from a place of what you want, right? So that desire is your battery that's driving you in this scene. What do you want? Okay, you don't have to name it, but just that's the place you're going from. Curtis, as the target, think about what it is that you want in this scene and act from that place. And Amy, the same with you. As the protagonist in this, you're just coming to a meeting, right? You don't know what's about to go down, but what do you want, coming into this meeting? Okay. Great. So let's just take one deep breath. And when I say action, MJ, as the leader of this team, you can kick us off. And action.
Okay, I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. Curtis, I don't feel like you're taking this job seriously. Like, you're constantly absent. The quality of your work has gone down. You don't do your research anymore. And everybody's counting on the data you are providing. So we are all moving forward with like big mistakes. And it's costing the team. So I need you to start to get it together. I don't know what's going on in your background, but please, like, you used to have so much ethic, and now where is it? I can't find it anywhere.
But well, I mean, it's just been really hard lately, and I would.
Listen, we all have stuff going on. We all have lives. But when you're at work, I need you to perform, man. Like, I understand needing a day off because, your wife has cancer. I get that. Maybe 2 in the month. But when you're here, you need to be here.
Hey, do you think there's an opportunity to maybe take this conversation offline so it's not happening in front of all of the teammates?
Well, ideally that's what would have happened, but now we're here. And so halfway through it, I might as well see it through because I've been trying to hold back for weeks now. And I can't anymore. I'm sorry, I can't. I've reached a boiling point.
Do you think, well, maybe we could set some time away after this meeting so that it doesn't feel like Curtis is being stuck in the middle. Right now, it sounds like he has a lot of things going on outside of work, and maybe there'd be an opportunity to address this in a different way.
I feel like this is the most important thing we can address at this moment. I feel like there's nothing more important going on than, we're all counting on Curtis, and right now we're being fed like high school data.
I know I'm not doing my best, but I'm just trying. I'm just really trying.
I think there's some ways we could help out Curtis, because all of us have maybe been there, not in exactly the same way. But if this is something that you want to talk about with Curtis, maybe the rest of us could step out for a minute. But it really seems like he needs our support right now.
Well, I'm inviting us all to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, because now we're here. The problem is out in the open. And what do we need to do, Curtis? What do we need to do? Because I feel like I've done my best to accommodate and be nice.
I don't know.
As a member of this team, is there an opportunity that I could lean in with Curtis and maybe help support or take something off of his plate while he is kind of navigating some of the things that he's navigating to just be a better support system from our team?
Well, he's the one who's got all the scientific background. So I appreciate you wanting to help him, but you don't have the same background, Amy. Curtis is the one who needs to lead us with the right data so we can then do each our parts. He's the PhD. how do you want to supply the same scientific validation that he can? I'm sorry. I mean, not that what you bring is not valuable, it's just different. Adam, you're very silent. You have something to say?
Well, I'm just thinking, so Curtis, we all have issues that we've dealt with in the past. Certainly had my own. If you need any support, feel free to reach out. You know, we all are busy, but I know right now you've got time that you need with family, and I will absolutely support and help you come through with your deliverables whenever you need a hand. Feel free to reach out. We're on this together. So anything you need, the team can help support you. You just gotta let us know.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
I second support what Adam said. I think, we're all part of your team and we want to support you.
Thanks, Amy.
Same here.
I love you guys. Can you say that at work?
We love you too, Curtis.
Okay, so who wants to dissect the latest report for Curtis? Because clearly he's gonna have trouble doing that, as I can assess from here. And you're all volunteering to do his work at the moment, which I find very heartwarming. But who's willing to dissect the latest report?
I think for me to feel comfortable, I'm going to need a breakdown from. So Curtis, I think if we have a chance, I'd like to meet with you. We can do it offline. We can do it after hours if need be. And we can come up with a plan so that I can understand the data and we can do it as a team outside. You know, it's not every day. It's not the rest of your career that you're going to be in this situation. So for the time being, if we need to level up ourselves to support you, if no one else is willing, I will volunteer to help you with that. But for this time being, right now, we're gonna have to table it until I can be prepped to be able to deliver whatever I need to deliver for him.
Very chivalrous of you, Adam. Appreciate that you are offering to jump into that level. I would have never guessed that you had that much empathy. So congratulations.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
MJ, I'm wondering if there's any other resources that might be available or opportunities for you to connect one-on-one with Curtis after this to maybe learn a little bit more about what he's going through and what kind of support would be most efficient.
That's not a bad idea, actually. I guess we can set up a follow-up meeting. I'm not sure that we have quite achieved get out of jail card for Curtis right now. But sure. Curtis, let's reconvene after this so we can line up our calendars. And maybe you can tell me exactly what you need, what functions you are willing to delegate, and I'll see what I can do.
All right, folks, give yourselves a big round of applause.
I don't think I was quite at the kindness level though yet. I was still too pumped. And it
You were
feels
pretty
awful.
I do not want to
feels
be in your
awful.
path.
Well, I think you did come around to kindness, because kindness doesn't mean that you don't have expectations. But I think you were softened a little bit to the point where you understood things were a little different. You know, we need to kind of make modifications to the expectations just temporarily to getting through a situation. And to me, that's kindness. Like, you're allowed to have expectations, but at the same time, you pulled in that, okay, he is a human first. And
Right. I wasn't my heart wasn't really warmed up quite yet though. I was doing it with resentment in my heart. So it was
you did a
not
good
quite
job, though.
nice or kind. It was kind of somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like, what do you think happened in this situation? Let's just start with what you saw. What did you notice?
I think the
I
team
noticed-
stood up for one another, which was nice, right? Instead of just sitting there letting it happen. I think everybody, myself, Adam, Dana, all tried to support our teammate.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did MJ start? What did you notice in her body language, in her voice? Where did she start?
I noticed she was very uncomfortable playing this role.
This is a stretch for you, MJ.
I have fun trying to stretch. You know, I love theater and improv and that sort of stuff, but this is not my comfort zone. I did feel it physically difficult. Like my heart was racing and it was uncomfortable, yes.
And I think MJ, like based on what you're saying, you weren't quite there yet. I love that you brought that up because it and Kia, tell me if I'm going astray here,
I'll go for it.
but being able to get to that kindness place, because what was happening in this scene was that the boss in front of everybody was actually shaming and humiliating
Yep.
the employee.
Yep.
And and oftentimes when we get in situations like that, it's easy to say, "Hey boss, you're a bad guy. You are the one that we need to look at and everybody needs to focus on you," instead of not only helping them get to kindness, but showing kindness for them.
Hmm.
And obviously the boss was she was upset because the things weren't getting done, which meant she was feeling stress and being able to reflect that back to her, being able
Hmm.
to say, "Hey MJ, I can see you're really stressed and this is usually not like you."
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're normally kinder than that. I don't know what's up
Yeah.
with you today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we don't want to flip the situation and now everybody's shaming the boss.
Right.
We want to show kindness to both the employee and the boss and be able to reflect or mirror back to them the same emotions they're feeling so that they can see, oh wait, that isn't me. That's not who I am. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting strategy that actually was not employed, right? Nobody was really able to like pull MJ aside and say, "Hey, it sounds like you're going through a lot. I feel for you," right? But I'm curious, what were some of the strategies that did work, and what were some of the strategies that didn't work? So let's start with what didn't work. What didn't really move you, MJ?
Well, I wasn't letting anything move me because you said I had to be a train, but like the very first intervention, the very first intervention, and then Amy tried, and then Dana, and I was like, okay, okay, okay. Like that's how I felt. So sorry, you know.
Yeah. So
So,
what were some of the early things that were tried that didn't seem to have much of an impact?
well, let's reconvene on that conversation at a later time.
Yeah, you weren't
Um,
really hearing that, which is actually could be a great strategy to get like,
yes,
can we pull somebody aside? Because it's
yes,
very difficult to do it in the moment in front of everybody, right? Like that's part of the problem here is the
yes,
person is being publicly shamed. And as Curtis mentioned, you don't want to publicly shame
The shamer.
the shamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was great, Amy. Like you tried that out. Like, hey, why don't we take this offline? Could we? And she was just amped, right? What did seem to work? What did seem to soften her? What were some of the strategies that you noticed?
when I saw that somebody felt enough for Curtis to impose a real, tangible extra load on themselves to come
Yeah.
to his rescue,
Yep.
then that made me feel like, oh man, I really went too far.
That
Yeah.
compassion.
Yeah.
Dude, just wanted.
Yes.
By the way,
Yeah.
Adam, I'd love to be on your team, whatever team you're on.
You, one
Everybody
more
was so
reason for
great.
him to win the
Dana,
prize.
Amy.
Yeah. Everybody, Dana, Adam, and Amy jumped in and said, hey, how can we help out? I'm here for you. And it's interesting because to me, when because we're social beings, right? Have you ever been like on a street corner and the light's red, but then a few people just start going?
Uh-huh.
And
Mhm.
what happens? Like just everybody starts
Um,
crossing, right?
It's
We
on,
just
stop.
we're looking at each other for social cues of what's okay to do. And so MJ is seeing three people being kind and compassionate. And so I just noticed that MJ, you just started to chill out a little bit because it's like, oh shit, everybody else is being kind. Maybe I should be also.
Right. Maybe
So
I'm
I
the
thought that's
problem
really,
here.
really interesting strategy. Instead of going after MJ, all three of you really showed some empathy and compassion for Curtis. And what was
Thanks, you
what was
guys.
the impact on you, Curtis? Just curious.
Yeah, when what's funny is I actually felt Adam's compassion. I
Yeah,
like genuinely felt it.
yeah,
And then whenever Amy's like, me too, and Dana's like, me too, I'm like, group hug. Like,
Well, I think we've all experienced hardships, right? And that's the human factor, and it, and honestly, at first I wasn't going to chime in, but after seeing Amy and Dana both try their luck, it's like, if what would I do if I were Curtis?
Yeah.
What would I want somebody to do? And that, the empathy part of it. And I'm a baseball coach. I'm a team guy. Like, we're all one team here. Let's solve this problem together first. And then, if 2 months from now, Curtis is slacking off still and I'm doing all this work for him, then we'll readdress it. But let's give him a chance to do the right thing by us and give him that opportunity. So
Yeah.
the team's more important than the self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And at one point or another, we will all need compassion from the team. And it's a lot easier to ask for it when we've offered it beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Love that. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Does this remind you of anything in real life?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever had a situation like this? I'm just curious.
I haven't so much at work, luckily, in a long time, but in my personal life, there were a group of ladies' moms from the same, grade as my youngest, and they were being super mean to one of the moms, and they always kind of had this pattern.
Hmm.
And I had just read The Kite Runner, and it just like forced me into action to just like save her. They had hid her keys from her so that she couldn't get home. And it was
Wow.
really cruel. And I was so I scolded them all in front of Linda, and I, made sure that she was taken care of. And she still hangs out with these, but they're very cruel. And it's why their daughters were cruel to my daughter. But anyway, I just felt like you got to step up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Super important that we step up. And, someone always thinks, well, I don't know how to do it right. I might mess this up. Someone else will step up. Like, there's lots of reasons why people don't, why people stay bystanders. But part of the work is to just practice it, is to just get into the mode of learning how to do that. So, before we close out this section, if you had one or two big takeaways from this, what's a strategy that you might use in the future, that you saw displayed today? Yeah, MJ.
So when we did the mirroring exercise, I was paired with Amy, and we giggled so much that my cheeks were feeling the workout, right? And now she was the first protagonist to try to stop my train. And so I was willing myself to view her in a very different light than I had the first time around.
Hmm.
And Amy changed very little in between the two exercises, right? The one thing that changed is my decision to view her in a certain light.
Hmm.
And I could really feel physically in my cheeks and in my heart and my chest, I could really feel my energy towards Amy change based on my own decision.
Hmm. Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, so I think that a lot of times we create stories based on incomplete information,
Yep.
and then we react to someone based on the stories that we have created.
Right.
And changing those stories might not be that difficult, and it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. I just took a course called the Conflict Lab here at UC Berkeley, and they talk a little bit about these stories that we say, and we get so stuck in these stories. And when we're in conflict with somebody, everything is about them
Right?
as opposed to our own feelings, our own needs. It's like
Right.
if they would just do this, if they would just do that,
Right.
I
Yes.
I would be in a better place.
And doesn't that apply to politics too?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah. Any other key takeaways before we close out with a few things I want to share with you? Any other takeaways for you?
Besides not making MJ mad.
Yeah, don't be on MJ's.
I think one thing I didn't get to, I was late to the game. I didn't get to participate in the first exercise, but I think it was, I always tell when I coach, I always tell the kids, you've got two things you can control 100% of the time. That's effort and attitude.
Hmm.
Kindness, a lot of times, is a choice. And I honestly, I think part of why the success started happening with MJ, with kind of changing her approach to things, was if you lead with kindness, it's harder for people to not be kind around you. And that's it goes with kids, it goes with adults, it goes in meetings, it goes with bosses, it goes with everyone. So if you lead with kindness, it's easier to get kindness in return. So that's,
Oh,
I put the onus on myself to be kind first,
yep.
and it just makes everything easier.
I love that, Adam. Yeah, it's sort of disarming.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, like, MJ, your body language was so animated in the beginning, and I just saw you kind of release, slow down, and sort of, I mean, you didn't go all the way, but you're like, oh, maybe we can try. Like,
She
you
even
were
tried to
wouldn't
go
say the
disarmed.
3 minutes
minutes were
on me.
up.
She even tried to go, also, Adam's going to do all his work now. Okay. Tried to throw the sarcasm at me. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, if my boy Curtis needs it, I'm here. I got you.
Well, and you took it. You took it. You were like, yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
what I have to. I got to say, the 3 minutes of incivility felt a lot longer than the 3 minutes of giggles and mirroring.
Yeah.
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 Well, cool. I'm so glad that you had a chance to do that with each other. I think it's you fantastic. Another round of applause for you as actors. Really beautiful work. And what I'd like to do is just to talk a little bit about what we're doing around kindness here at the Greater Good Science Center. One of the things we're trying to do is to really make a very strong connection between kindness and success and profitability. Because people say, well, yeah, that kindness thing, that's a nice thing, but like we've got a business to run here. I've got quarterly earnings, and so I'll tell you a little bit about what we've been up to. We found this research with Mei Feng and Wei Li Zhe, and they have studied 3,500 CEOs, and they really looked to see whether these CEOs were kind or pro-social, as we say in the literature. And the way that they did that is, first of all, did they give their time and money to charitable causes outside of the company? That was the first kind of filter. The second filter was they actually looked at their earnings calls. And when the company was doing well, do they credit themselves or do they credit their team? And when the company is doing poorly, do they take the blame or do they blame their team? Right. So they actually like scientifically looked at their earnings calls and looked at how often they do these things. And so they got a group that they felt were pro-social or kind CEOs. And then because these are professors of accounting, they really study profitability. They really understand profitability in companies. They work the numbers. And they looked at profitability very closely. And I'm sure you can imagine what happened is that pro-social CEOs had a higher firm value. They had lower risk, which contributed to stronger long-term performance. And they think it's because of these employee-friendly policies that were there around customer satisfaction and a lower risk. It was almost like an insurance policy to have a kind CEO. And so this is the kind of research that we're really trying to put out in the world because, as you all know, unkind and cruel leadership is really prevalent right now, right? It's like all in the news, and it looks like all these unkind leaders are winning. It looks like this is the way to success. And so we want to change the narrative in the US and hopefully around the world that there is another way of success. I won't go deeply into this one, but it turns out that kind managers make a big difference. This was across 900 firms, and they found that employees exert more effort under pro-social managers. It really, as you know, affects employee engagement. Not surprising at all. Um, and we want to really share with you this event that we are having on December 1st. And it includes our chancellor at UC Berkeley, who is a kind leader. He was actually my mentor when I had this job trying to change the culture. He is a very kind person himself, leads that way. He's kind of a fun guy too. He plays the guitar for everybody and sings. And we've got Yamini Rangan, who is the CEO of HubSpot. Dennis Ring, who's the CEO of Ocho Chocolates. And then Wei Li Zhe, who is one of the researchers on that study that I mentioned. And there's my boss, Emilian Simon Thomas, who's a neuroscientist who has been studying kindness, compassion, pro-sociality, and happiness for the last 20 odd years. So feel free to, get your phone and, take a picture of this if you're interested in coming to this event. It's free if you're going to attend on the streaming. In person, you can buy tickets for that. But it's a really fun and interesting event that I think you'll enjoy. So that's all I have. But any other questions, thoughts, anything you want to know about the Greater Good Science Center, I'm happy to answer them.
Where do you get your funding?
Good question. So we do a bunch of things for our funding. The primary source of our funds is through grants. So from big foundations like the Walmart Foundation, from a whole host of foundations that fund our work. So for example, our work around bridging differences across political divides. We have a whole team of five or six folks who are focused on bridging differences. They're doing work all over the country, a lot of work in Colorado and around the country around bridging differences. We have an education team that gets funding to bring this science into schools. And my role is for workplaces. So I've just been here about a year. And the way we generate revenue is through talks, workshops, and consulting to companies. So, we work with biotech companies and we come in and work with their leaders on how to lead with kindness, how to create well-being in your organization, how to focus on awe and gratitude and these kinds of things as a manager and leader in your organization. So that's another source of our revenue.
Great. I know I love your calendars.
Oh, thank you.
Monthly calendars.
Yeah. Any other questions or any other comments for our wonderful actors and actresses here?
Thank you for doing what you're doing, Kia.
Awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's great to hang out with you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Consider us on your team.
We're on the team.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.